Futures trading involves risk and is not suitable for all investors. Content provided in this segment is meant for educational purposes and is not a solicitation to buy or sell commodities.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Tech Talk. I'm Cody. He is Andy. Together, we are the Tech Talk team. It is the 8th of October, just about 4 o'clock Eastern Time, 3 o'clock Central. Andy, how you doing?
You know what?
I blew through that really fast.
That's okay. Yeah, I'm doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for asking.
Can you say Tech Talk team 3 times fast? Like you did, I think you should get either one of 2 tattoos, like Tech Talk for life somewhere, or like T cubed, and nobody else will know except our loyal fans that it's Tech Talk.
I feel like it's
Tech Talk Trio, Tech Talk. What did you say again? I don't even remember.
We get to 1,000 subscribers, and I will get that by the end
Tech
of this
Talk
year.
For life?
Sure. 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year, by December 30th, 31, however many days.
So we get 1,000 subscribers. You're getting a tattoo that says Tech Talk for life.
Sure.
Done.
Put it out.
Sweet.
I don't know, how many do we have right now?
I don't know, but we need to get up to 1,000. Don't tell me where you're going to put the tattoo either. You just keep that to yourself.
That's right. Make it a surprise.
And if we get to 1 million, I'm pretty sure, isn't Phil going to take you to the moon or something like that?
Yeah,
like
you guys are going to program. No, I think it was 10,000 subscribers.
Okay.
Either.
I think you and Phil are going to be joining Space Force or NASA or something like that. You both are going to the moon.
Right. But if we can get to 1,000, I will get that tattooed on my body somewhere.
I think it'd be pretty cool to go to the moon. I don't know what you do when you get there. I mean, you're just kind of float around and stuff like that.
So
it'd be kind of cool.
Speaking of floating around.
Speaking of floating around, excellent segue. Should we talk about, we had one request this go around. We did one request. This is November Crude Oil. Courtesy of Erica. This is an internal request. Erica. Shout out, Erica. Appreciate it. Thank you. I don't know. What do you think? What do you see when you take a little gander at this chart? What do you see?
It was different when she asked us. Was it yesterday that she asked us?
She asked us yesterday morning.
Yesterday morning. I mean, kind of a pretty bullish formation besides this one candle that we have that engulfed all of yesterday and the day before that.
Yeah, so technically, I mean, to be fair, she was asking us when the chart really would look more like that.
Right.
And in all fairness too, if you would have, had we done Tech Talk yesterday, there was a lot of reasons to say, why is this, this thing could start to really go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You broke out here, you had a clear W here, right? And then, boop, not so fast.
Yeah.
This is pretty nasty.
On a Tuesday.
Well, what's interesting about it, it's an outside day potentially down, right? What's tomorrow's open going to look like? If we open lower, and especially if we open, you start talking about open below, what is this low? 73.62 is yesterday's low. Previous low from that is 73.46. So if you get a close below those 2 lows as early as tomorrow, it's yikes, this could be lights out. You completely engulf the body of the previous day, like you said. Yeah. That's just a complete train smash. They had all kinds of reasons for it to go up. Technically, the W, that breakout, you had that big green day.
It's just amazing.
Yesterday's candle.
What's I'm saying? In one day's, ask how yesterday it looked very bullish, and then you get to today and it's well, hold on a second.
Hold on. So what's interesting is that when you start talking about yesterday's close, look where it got right up around this area too. Yeah. So this appears to be a price point 77-ish, where if we can clear that price, it obviously after today's session too, but if you can clear that price, it's got room to potentially go. But again, in the short term, here and now, this could easily go back into this low 70s, mid high 60s kind of thing after today's candle. I mean, that is just so bearish. It's ridiculous.
So if tomorrow we opened up at, let's just say 74, above where we technically closed out today, you'd want to give it one more day just to see if we could. I'd want
to at least see how it's trading. Yeah, okay. I mean, let's just see how it's trading, right? But I mean, this is just so, it's just completely overshadowing this candle right here. And this was a big day yesterday. What was this, up nearly $3?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 276. And then just bam, and it closed nearly on the high. Yesterday's high was 77.40, closed at 77.14.
Yeah.
That's very close to settling on the high. And again, after this breakout, after this nice W, this looked great yesterday. Nope, not so fast.
Even the open. The open today, 77.3, looking fairly bullish.
Yeah. Yeah, you would have had reason to add, given that open.
Right.
So yeah, this is a nasty one. But if you open lower tomorrow and then you start getting trade below these 2 lows, really it's this low, right? 73.46. then I think you really start to jeopardize getting back into here, and then you start to question like this low right here too, right? Basically the 67ish area. But yeah, no, this looks terrible. Yikes! This looks like a candle on like cheese, by the way. These like
Yes,
big
it
red
does.
candles that we're seeing here lately. How about that?
Yes, it does.
So I don't know. I guess for crude oil, if you would have asked me yesterday, I'm sure I would have told you to buy it based on that chart. Obviously wrong. Yikes. I think you got to be super careful here. And if we trading below this low from 2 days ago, or 2 sessions ago, I should say, like $70, I think becomes a pretty good magnet. This like range right here, right? Kind of in here where it started to get like, I would say more or less more like right here-ish, kind of where it started to really go, right? It completed this U. So this is where I think we ultimately end up after today's session. But who knows? Maybe we get like this gigantic green candle tomorrow, and you want to buy it with both hands.
Possibility.
I don't really do anything in crude. I just,
It's interesting to look at, though.
You got a truck. I mean, you're always thinking about gas, especially with a truck. Or wait, do you fill up with diesel? I forget.
No.
You don't do diesel?
I say you have a car, so I'm pretty sure you're worried about gas.
I do, but I mean, I drive it you drive it like the 1.5 miles to the train station sometimes.
Oh, that's fair.
I've had my car for like 4 years, and I think I've got less than 25,000 miles on it for what it's worth.
It's impressive.
So how about that? How about that? All right, next. Thank you, Erica, for the request.
Shout out.
Next, this has been on Yikes Cheese. 240 one day, 190 the next. This is a weekly of CME Cheese. This is just a simple average of the block and the barrel. I mean, it's just been like lights out for this thing, and it's been mostly in the barrel, right? Yeah. I mean, the barrel was the one that climbed into record highs, and then we've seen very little trade. And so what's interesting about this is that this price action has come off of very, very little volume. So the question is when you start to run into volume. I drew this line right here beforehand. This is the low end of this. When we were talking about that bull flag that it was making 185ish is kind of that lower area, but that's only a nickel away on average. That said, it's interesting. We'll take a look at it in a second, but futures don't seem to be buying into this break as much anymore. Obviously, when we were falling pretty aggressively, right, futures seemed like every day we were down 30, 40 points. But
was it two or 3 weeks ago when we were looking at the same chart? I actually had somebody call me after they watched Tech Talk, and they said you and Andy had talked about the gap at 183. Do you really think that could get filled? And I was like, well, I mean, at that point we were still up above 225 cheese. And I was like, I think it was more of just like a talking point. There is a gap to be mindful of. And as we keep falling every day, I look at that gap right there and I'm like, boy, what a way to go to 185. So
you're talking about this one right here?
Right. That one right there. And then obviously there's one below there at $1, 65, call it, to fill
right there.
Right exactly.
There. Yep.
And we were just talking about this chart, and this gentleman had said, does this kind of remind you, he asked me, does it remind you of the COVID years? If you look back where we were up there at, what did we go down to, $1 cheese? When we up
pretty
to
close,
270? Like, it just made that nasty M formation, and it got me thinking. I'm like, man, it does resemble that kind of on a smaller scale, if you will.
Sure. Well, I mean, I went back to it, right? There it is. 101 on average, just over $1. Just over $1. This one's obviously it's super tough. I mean, to me, it's like, when do we start to see volume change hands? There's a lot to be said too. I mean, there was obviously, you get in a discussion about previous month pricing and how that certainly, I'm sure, has played a bit of a role here too, and how quickly we've been able to break, and the timing for which we could start to see some support too. But I mean, to your point, there's not a big gap, but it's there, right? And for this market to go trade 183 at this point, I mean, why not, right? And we just broke about 50 cents a pound off the highs, and we did it on next to no volume.
Well, they took the barrel down another 5 cents today, so why not, right?
Yeah, to take another 7 cents out of the market and go trade a price. I mean, to me, that certainly seems possible. I think the futures are trying to tell us something. No, we'll take a look at November in a minute here, but I mean, it's the futures that I think are trying to kind of give us a little bit of guidance.
Mm-hmm.
I think what we want to be somewhat careful of is the potential for trying to find an example. I feel like we're due for something, like we're getting ready to do something like this. So this would be, I think it's called a harami, HARAMI, where you have big red candle, and this would be a bullish harami, right? The inverse would be a bearish one. But basically, you have a big red candle, and then the body of the next candle is the opposite color and within the body of the previous one, right? So you have this big red candle, body is within the previous candle here, right? And then you open in the direction of the color of this candle in the next one.
Okay.
That formation is typical. It's again called a harami. You can go take a look, online or something like that, learn more about it. Again, you could say that you invert it and you have a bearish one, right? So it's not just for bulls, but I think we're getting ready to see something like this. And the gap that I want to be somewhat mindful of, just given the way futures are trading, is this one at this point, right? We had today's export data that showed phenomenal exports for August, despite super high prices at the CME.
Yeah.
And there's been some discussion about exports being alive and well for like Q1 and Q2. So, to me, I don't know when that happens. I think we still have some more weakness to see at the exchange, but what I want to be somewhat mindful of is this. Let me just zoom in on this. There we go. This formation right here. Look it up. I think we've got a harami coming. And if we do, and let's say this week is low, and then next week we kind of have just like a slightly higher week, not much, but just kind of slightly higher, and then we start to get into the tail end of October, and we start to see a little bit of a pop. That's when I'd want to be thinking about this gap has the potential to go get filled.
So then let me ask you a question. If that gap is going to get filled, do you see it playing out where we complete the M formation, go back up to 240, hit our top, and then come back down again?
I definitely think that's possible.
Yeah, okay.
I definitely think that's possible. So you're talking about doing something like this.
Exactly.
Fill it or something like that, and then retest this. Yeah, definitely.
Well, I was thinking more of actually going back to 240, so blowing past that gap, getting up to 240, and then coming back down. So the M formation, yep, right there, and then coming back down and filling the gap at 165.
Oh, okay. So you got it. I mean, that is entirely possible for sure. I'm a little bit, again, I can't say I agree with you in the idea of going and testing the previous high, that 240 price. I think we go fill that gap based on what I was talking about with the Arami, and then I think we'd be done.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know. Is Coster Dairy making any more milk? That's also a big question.
I don't think anybody's, with everything else going on right now. I don't know if anyone's making more milk right now.
Who knows? That could be an opportunity for you.
Could be.
Get a couple 2 tree more cows and start milking them.
2 tree?
If you can find them. Like I said, for now, I think we have to be here's this line of support, this 185. To your point, you have a 183 price. To go fill that gap, I don't think would be unreasonable or difficult, given the fact that we've moved so much on such light volume. Mm-hmm. I just think that as we progress lower, and with how the futures are trading, we have to be really mindful of something like this cropping up here.
Okay.
All right, last but not least, November Class 3. Heyo. I did this Fibonacci from where I feel like it really started to go from, and that was when it broke out here. Right? Once it cleared all of this, it started to it obviously just this uptrend continued and then really accelerated here. So I changed it up a little bit and did a much longer term Fibonacci and found that when we got to 50%, it's starting to really run into a ton of volume. So that kind of coincides too with some of this right here. When you think about all this, this big down up, it's a lot of traffic, a lot of volume that was changing hands. So again, I think the futures are trying to tell us something. We'll see what open interest does tomorrow. I think open interest is going to be a big one for November. Were people liquidating today? Are we getting new selling? That's the thing. I mean, we've had a significant break, off of these highs, 23.30, basically down to nearly, sub $21, ticking to almost, not quite, but almost to 20 and a half.
Yeah.
So you're talking about shaving $2.50 off this contract potentially in a very short amount of time. I mean, that's a huge move. So to see some people wanting to liquidate, I think that the question is, do we see new selling at this 21 to 20 and a half area?
Well, we've seen the volume in November alone has upticked heavily, I'd say, for the past week. We got 1,100 contracts traded today. Yesterday, I think we were 900, maybe 950.
Mm-hmm. Volume can be a very big indicator.
Yeah.
Always is, actually.
So November doesn't actually start pricing until next week. Check out Basis Loaded, Joe Schmidt. If open interest has declined, do you see it going the way that you were talking about the cheese chart, where now we make another run higher, back up to $22, for an example?
I think so, only because if open interest is declining, my guess is that shorts are liquidating into new shorts, right? And I don't feel like if people are selling it now when there's not much of a premium relative to cash, and we've had a significant move already, I just don't get a good feeling about that. I don't know. We'll see. But to me, this has been just a massive move in a short amount of time. It's a question of like, what's the new selling going to start looking like? And now that, futures, again, had a big move in cash. I mean, there was every reason under the sun for us to be settled 30 lower, and we didn't. So I think tomorrow's open is going to be a big deal for November. Do we get an open, or at least like not only an open, but an open higher, but a close above yesterday's open, which was 21.28. You close above this candle, and all of a sudden the momentum starts to shift a little bit more towards the bulls, or at least kind of gives bears a second thought of like, do I want to be short this thing anymore? I think that's going to need, some support in cash. I'm not quite sure that we're going to get that just yet. But, another thing to be mindful of too is if we get like a hammer in the cash market here this week, and then get that small candle in the body of it next week, that Harami type deal, and then that could be, there's starting to be some signals that things are making some shifts. We'll see.
Yeah, I was going to say, we definitely saw, green on the board after spot. It definitely was not during, as block and barrel, or before. It was still, I think we were down 25 cents at one time in November and bounced our way back. So very interesting day today.
It's definitely, it's keeping us on our toes.
It is.
It has been interesting, and it's going to continue to be interesting.
If anything, this market has done just that. Cool. All right. Well, Erica, we appreciate the question on crude.
Keep them coming, please.
The only person that we had call in for this episode. We're going to be back next week. I'm actually going to be in Chicago with you guys next Tuesday. No, Wednesday.
You got your Halloween costume picked out, by the way?
I do not. I still got to get that. I don't want to tell anyone.
Get it on the list.
Forgot about that, actually.
Write that down.
All
right. While Cody writes that down.
I don't want to forget. I completely botched that one. We'll figure it out. We'll get it figured out.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Appreciate you tuning in and watching. If you have not already, please subscribe to the channel. Give us a thumbs up. Hit that notification bell. Like I said, we get 1,000 likes. I'll get Tech Talk
for life.
For life somewhere on my body by the end of this year, December 31st. We get 10,000 likes. I was promised a trip to NASA to potentially go to the moon through their space station thing. So a lot of big things happening at Ever.Ag right now. I'm excited.
It could be a very Merry Christmas for Cody.
It could be an interesting year. I'm excited.
Let's go.
Until next time. Thanks for watching.
All right. See you.